So got the female record in 13 hours, which is crazy to me because that's all I was attempting. And after 13 hours, I was like, I've still got 11 hours. Like, why not chase the men's record?
If you are a mountain biker, can you stick your right hand in the air? And if you're a paraglider, can you stick your left hand in the air? And if I'm expecting there might be a few people with both hands here. That's what I'm driving at, which is kind of cool.
Are there any surfers as well?
Yeah.
Which hand?
Put that away. No, we don't need to put that over there. Hey, well, look, real quickly then, team. I'm going to introduce Annie. Real quickly, Annie's pronouns are marine biologist, bike tourer, and surfer. And she's going to tell you heap more than I will. So please, ladies and gentlemen, Annie.
There are so many of you. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. My name is Addie Ford. Thank you, Hugh, Jeremy, World Bar for having us. This is absolutely phenomenal to look at everyone. Yes, I am a marine scientist by trade, but I have recently left that world forever in order to pursue this wild path I found myself on. So up until recently, I was working 9-to-5 jobs, spending a bit of time on boats here and there, and then about 5 years ago, I picked up a bike because a bike park was built in the backyard and have not looked back since. My surfboard gathered dust for the first time in history, and I kind of haven't looked back. And part of that was wanting to come and spend time here in New Zealand. I'd heard about Queenstown. Everyone that rides bikes told me about Queenstown and Whistler. They're the go-to locations. It's like, let's go and spend like a bit of time over there and actually see what the hype's about. And because I'm a Tasmanian, a little island off the southern tip of Australia, down very far south, nice and cold, similar here, get a lot of swell, keeps you very entertained. Part of that was having to get here. So I decided to, jump on a plane and then I'd be flying south. I had to go via Auckland. So I was like, well, how can I reduce my environmental impact associated with that? Or at least minimise it, maybe even make it positive. So I decided I would unpack my bike in Auckland Airport and then begin the ride south to Queenstown. And I was telling a mate about it. And he was like, well, you're kind of going from the top to the bottom. Why don't you just add a bit and ride the whole country? And I was like, genius. I had never ridden on the road before. I had never bike packed before. And that idea catalysed the most remarkable adventure ever. So I'm here to tell you a little about that, and also particularly about the charge that you can bring to these adventures with storytelling. And for me, part of what fulfills me is having an impact beyond myself, and preferably having a positive environmental impact. So if I can bring a bit more purpose and a bit more just either or just fun, passion, purpose together, there's no better feeling for me. So this catalysed what was soon to be a few years of absolutely mind-changing, life-changing experiences that I've never had a better time or experience. So let's go. Where do I... Oh, there we go. So this is essentially a bit of an objective about why I do what I do. And again, this is around sharing particularly climate-conscious stories. Being a marine scientist, I've seen so much change in the marine world in my relatively short lifetime. What I've seen underwater, what I've been able to catch and dive, the reduction in kelp forest like you're experiencing here in New Zealand as well. It was really mortifying and also overwhelming, and I felt really helpless and honestly quite depressed about the state of the world and the trajectory. And what I soon realised was by acting in alignment with what I believe, holy moly, I've never been more positive and optimistic, and the solutions orientation of decisions just changed my entire trajectory. And also, when you do what you believe in, not just say it, but do, you find your people as well. And that's why I'm now here, because I'm surrounded by doers and creating a community and being part of a community that is so in alignment with what I believe. So that's the kind of the why. A bit of background, so there might be a few people in the room that can resonate with a few bits and pieces. This isn't kind of like the first big undertaking. There's been a few adventures that have got me here, and confidence in, taking off solo and not fully throwing yourself down a completely blind path. So having a bit of self-sufficiency, and part of that is, doing a bit of sailing around the world and then being invited to, fortunately, spend some time in Antarctica as a expedition guide. And then what really turned me to New Zealand was the experience to have an exchange here about 5 years ago, where I landed in Queenstown and got showcased the agricultural industry and the tourism industry, and it blew my mind. But I didn't mountain bike then, so I'd never looked at it through the lens, and why I came back to really see and experience what it was like to be on a bike here. So the north to south, from the northern tip to the southern tip. One, hopefully reduce a bit of emissions along the way. Part of this adventure for me and the undertaking was to use what I had. So I have a mountain bike. I didn't have a road bike or a gravel bike. And everyone that looked at my setup was just like, you are a psycho. That will take you forever to get from A to B. And again, not knowing how long this would take me, I was so unfit. I was never again ridden on a road. I didn't know how long this would take me, and so I was like, I might really miss my surfing, so why not bring the surfboard with me? And I'd seen a few setups where you put the surfboard alongside your bike, and I was thinking in some areas and highways the crosswind might throw me in front of a truck. So I decided to put the board behind me and low, in my slipstream. And that little trailer, you have no idea what I dragged that through. That has been through hell and back. Highways were the exception to the norm. So usually there's a trail through New Zealand called the Aotearoa for those that do bike, or there's a walking version as well. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely stunning. Every time I was on that, it was great. But any time I wanted to surf or mountain bike, because had no route, it was completely dictated by where I wanted to surf, the swell direction, the wind direction, where locals told me to go to ride. So I would be zigzagging my whole way down New Zealand, and that trailer was just amazing. I'm not sponsored to say that. It's amazing. It's genuinely. And figuring out where to put weight the first few hours was horrifying. I was so wobbly with all the weight on the bike and the trailer. Figured out to put the weight underneath me on the bike. All that was in the trailer there is the board and the wetsuit. And you'd be riding through backcountry, and then you'd accidentally hit a river, and you're I forgot about the wetsuit, and you're 5 kilograms heavier, usually about 10, and then you're just dragging that through dust for the next 50 kilometres. It's very character building setup, but just changed the tyres, locked out the shock, and having the versatility of that bike made it so enriched my experience here in New Zealand. I could get off the roads, I could experience the mountains alongside the places I was riding, and I would not do it any other way, to be honest. It was exceptional. Easily fun over efficiency is my rule of thumb. There you go. So that's the kind of nice close look. I think that was in Sumner in Christchurch. Terrible surf that day, but yeah. So the North Island, oh my gosh, so learning curve. Your fitness goes through the roof within a few days, unbelievable. But I ended up in the high, alpine areas, and had some really, really cold experiences. Had each and every day I was kind of blowing my doors off with regards to what I thought I could do, and with fitness, with just these beautiful environments, with community. I was out there alone, and when you tell someone about this plan, everyone's like, you're gonna go alone into the wilderness, and what about people, and how dangerous is that? What about cars? And people really project their fears onto you, and they almost always lead with them, which comes from a remarkably caring place, and it comes from a well-wishing place. However, it's almost always out of proportion. And so coming into this, not knowing what to expect, fortunately remaining really open-minded, my experience was the opposite end of the spectrum. Everywhere I went, people went so far out of their way to make sure that I was safe and cared for. And everywhere I looked, I made, you couldn't hide with this setup. You was ridiculous. I'm longer than a car out there, and I didn't fit a cycling mold or a surfer mold, so everyone was really friendly. And I took off the trailer, and then people would be like, cyclists. Instantly hated me. It was weird and wonderful. Had some pumping surf up the north-west coast from the tip, pretty much from Aotearoa, which is that kind of beautiful left-hand break there, all the way down to Raglan before going inland to Aotearoa. Had it again kind of down near Wellington. Farewell Spit was firing, and then again down on the south coast around the Catlins. Just surf around here is stupid, it's so good. But damn, some of those colder mornings, all your layers on, and because you're travelling lightweight, I wore every single layer, and I almost died that night, fetal position, zero sleep. You don't want to get out because you just don't know if you're going to find help soon enough before you freeze. So some spicy situations I landed myself in without anyone to share that with you. But the South Island is where the scenery really turned it on, and everywhere I looked, it was just me there to experience it and to witness it. And I just had some of these moments where you're a broken record, which is wow, 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 and you just want to shake people and where are you all? What are you all doing? This is an amazing way to experience slow travel. You're not disconnected. You don't have a window that separates your roof. You smell, you feel, you're in touch with each and every environmental experience. And because you're transecting the land like this, and there could be no better country to do this, you connect to these places and you feel them. And coming to the end of that ride, I had not only completely destroyed the many limiting beliefs that I didn't realise I had, but also the care for place and then wanting to stand up for that place. One of these last few days, because you're getting really fit, I was like, what can I do? If the bar keeps moving, what does it look like when I'm falling off my bike? And so one day I decided to just ride until I couldn't. And wanted to know what physical and mental barriers I'd be going through to get to that kind of state. And so left Christchurch at midnight and made my way south. And that day, clicked over 300 kilometres with that setup, which was ridiculous. And looking at mountains and passes that were coming up, and you're tired and you're hungry and you're ruined, and you can just keep going. It's amazing what you can really do when you put your mind and body to the test. And got up the next day, felt 100% gut went again, because I didn't want to sit around. I still had energy. It's amazing what your body and your mind can do when you really, challenge it. That's the final day. My mate came out and pedalled out to spend it with me. The most remarkable profound, unforgettable day, one of the highlights of my life. Seeing the end of the country after spending so much time out there and so many barriers and who I knew that I could be and that trajectory. I wasn't finished there. I most definitely, on that last day, I concocted some pretty silly ideas of what's next, and then decided to come back. I was going to obviously live in Queenstown, and I was like, I might never be this fit again, so I decided to do what is called an Everesting challenge. Can I see a show of hands who knows what Everesting is? Yeah, cool. Queenstown. Okay, there's a few hands down. So, Everesting is where you choose a mountain and then you lap the mountain uphill as many times as it takes to cumulatively reach the height of Everest from sea level to the tip, which is 8,849 metres. So I was like, if there's any window, it's now. I want to do that. And so did a bit of Googling about how to do it, where to do it. And then I saw that some people go to 10,000 metres instead. And I was like, not only am I going to do the Everest, I'm going to blow my doors off of what I believe, and I reckon I'm going to try for 10. And so within a couple of weeks, wrapped up this, jumped on the same bike and went to Coronet Peak and lapped Coronet Peak 13 and a half times. It took 32 hours on that bike, and reached with the support of a small army to get me through that, because we hit some hectic weather, like hypothermic conditions. And oh my gosh, like when you can't think, like people are talking at you, but you're hearing noise and you can't, like, that's where it got to. But got through it, got warm. They literally changed me because I was in very wet, cold conditions, and saw it out. And then realised afterwards that I'd become the first female to do that on a mountain bike. Like, exceptional outcomes and ideas because you're out there doing this. Like, I would never, ever thought that was possible. But these things keep rolling, and after that, I was like, well, I've done some stuff uphill, but my bread and butter, what I love to do is downhill. And so having spent some time doing pedalling, I got a gondola pass and started spending some time going downhill. And then I got friends over in Medina were doing 24 hours descending challenges to raise money for charity. I was like, I wonder what the world record is for that, because that would be the ultimate for me. Like, what is something that I find absolutely impossible for me? Let's just try. And far out to prepare for this, did some like non-stop laps, and then on March, about a year ago now, dropped into Coronet Peak. They very, very, very generously ran the gondola for me for 24 hours. They didn't only do it at the exact speed that they usually do, they turned it up to 100%. So like, I did all my calculations off a slow gondola and then dropped in. I had to get 30,000 metres descending to get the female record, which is what I was going for. I don't know what's out, yeah. So got the female record in 13 hours, which is crazy to me, because that's all I was attempting. And after 13 hours, I was like, I've still got 11 hours. Like, why not chase the men's record? And I could see some faces in the audience that were here for that. Piyush, I'm looking at you. You were there for a huge portion of that, like keeping me safe and upright. Lena, she was there as an official witness. And it was the most unforgettable day of my life. And again, it's the support, it's the team, it's the bonding that come from an experience like that. But yeah, achieved the men's record after 18 hours and 53 minutes. Thank you. But like, who would have thought, like, these things just snowball. Like, if you step out there and have a crack, I'd never ridden on the road, and within the same season, that happened. Like, no one could have ever told. I would have like, I won't swear. But I so encourage you to try and create an environment that's conducive to you succeeding. And not only that, like, surround yourself with people that, like, make these stupid goals seem standard, and you're in the right place to do that. So what I'd love to touch on now is, like, the purpose again behind all of these and what these experiences have actuated and the impact beyond myself. So this is where you can supercharge impact in areas that you care about, whether that's your community, whether that's the environment, whether that's the waterways or the forests around you. Like, these experiences, people love a story. People love not just to be told to plant a tree or, you know, like, ride instead of drive, but they do resonate with storytelling. And so this is part of why I now bring my love for activity and combine it with my love for wanting to make this world hopefully a better place. And so recently, over the last few months, back in Australia, I've been working with Surfrider Foundation Australia. Just left, which is a very, very sad experience, but it's an amazing organisation in a very good place. And we were trying to raise awareness about seismic blasting, which is a search for offshore oil and gas. And we made a film about it. And in order to share that film, we had a whole tour of film screenings. And so rather than drive or fly to every screening, I decided to ride my bike. So that was 4,000 kilometres, the tour. And fortunately, I had the right bike for this one because it was about efficiency. It wasn't about mountain biking and having fun. It was about showcasing and directing energy towards the film. And this ride was the biggest one I'd done to date. And it supercharged it. So what would have just been a small tour, the media loved it. It was crazy. I couldn't go anywhere on this tour without people recognising the bike, which actually became really overwhelming and exhausting. But for the purpose of the campaign, it was huge. And the takeaway here is, if you care about something, you can combine everything you love, and there's no barriers to that. I think you should be absolutely creative. Think outside the box. Think outrageously, because no one else will be doing it. You'll be like party of one, which is easy to sell if you're trying to sell a message. What's next is Mexico to Whistler. So in a couple of months, heading off to the peninsula in Mexico, and then starting again doing a bit of surfing down there, and then slowly making my way up to the mountain bike capital of the Northern Hemisphere. Again, supercharging one of the campaigns I really care about. Here in Queenstown, we're establishing a non-profit around combining mountain biking and native forest regeneration. So that's why I left my remarkable workplace with Surfrider, starting a remarkable undertaking here in Queenstown. So that's the next leg. It's going to be far shorter, only 3,500 kilometres. And then thank you again, for coming out, for inspiring yourself, for connecting and sharing what is an absolute privilege of an opportunity to be here with you. So thank you. Question time.
Did it take you to ride across New Zealand?
Ooh, I think I left in September and then arrived in December. So what, 3-ish months, 2.5 months. You got faster because 100k day, the first day I was so nervous. I just had so much nervous energy, and I did 100k's on the first day, and it rolled me. I couldn't get out of bed for 12 hours afterwards. And then at the end of the trip, 100 days you can do before breakfast, literally. It's mad, the fitness that comes with those undertakings. So.
Is that because it was downhill coming north?
Yeah, no, that sounds right. It's all you just roll. Good solid wind behind you. Good question. Yeah, as long as you want. I found with the other tour, with time pressure, less enjoyable. It's really nice to be able to cruise and have that element removed. Yeah, mate.
Well, yeah, I've got two questions. But what was the hardest day and what was your best surf?
Oh, good question. Oh, okay. So, hardest day. It was the end of a massive day. It was like a 140k day coming down from the Highlands in New Zealand to Wellington because the surf was pumping. So 500 Ks in 5 days, that was. I was just like, hustle, 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 hustle. And on the last day, there's this really narrow section around Paikaporiki, and it's Highway 1. Highway 1 is an experience. And they've got like 2 lane bridges, one direction each way, and I had to get through the bridge. I waited for a break in the traffic and pedalled my little legs off, and a car came around from behind me. I had a little rearview mirror. Get one if you ever ride on the road. They're more important than a helmet. I saw a car coming from behind, another car, big truck coming from around the blind corner in front of me. I was like, please slow down, and just like, and if you see a cyclist in that situation, please slow down. But this car got impatient and tried to overtake me, and obviously didn't want to hit the truck either, and they clipped my handlebars, and I had a big wobble, and there was the bridge right there, and I kind of got skittled in between them, and very much life flashed before my eyes. Fortunately got through that and pulled him over immediately after the bridge, and just distraught, so horrified and shaken. And what came from that experience was like, I will appreciate every grey hair I get, every wrinkle I get, every single day is such a fucking privilege, and we don't get a choice when our number is up. And what an honour to have the opportunity to be here and be healthy and to utilise that health. So fucking lucky. That was a hard day. And best surf. Farewell Spit. Just the beauty. In this crazy, like, left-hander into a cave. Unreal. You got to, like, do this hike through a sheep farm to get there. Like, no one knew about it. It was just real, like, local spot. So talk to the locals. You always get the bangers. Yeah, love.
Yeah, it's not much of a question. I know Annie that we spent 8 hours in the gauntlet timing for the world record, which was cool. I don't say this much, but I say that if anyone's an inspiration in mountain biking for girls, like to push, I don't know, I feel like people respect us more as male riders when people like you do that type of stuff, and I think that's like insane and thanks so much for being an inspiration. She just said she's a girl crush, right?
Thank you so much, that's lovely. Any more? I'll hand the floor over. Yeah.
What is the new record?
The new record is 42,000 metres and 42,080 metres. So there's more time on the clock. There's 5 more hours.
That was 18 hours.
That was 18 hours and 53 minutes. Only 19. There's still 5 hours that can be. Trust me, it's going to happen. It started raining. The last 20 laps was pouring, so cut the risk. But yeah, that's in the pipeline. Heads up. Any?
Along the way was very thin. It almost seemed like a nightmare, but ended up being a good stroke of luck and led to a good story.
Absolutely. Like, honestly, I've been asked a million times, like, the worst experience, the hardest, people love the challenge, but every single one of those almost resulted in the highlights. Like, so I wouldn't take them back, I wouldn't change them, like, in all honesty.
What's your best one?
Oh, the best one. Oh, God. Oh. Far out. Some of that 300k day where, like, you think you're done and you get to the top of the next pass and, like, your body has involuntary reactions of, like, this is incredible. Fully blew the doors off what I thought I could do. And that just, like... And I still do it. Like, what can you really do as one person? And I've taken those learnings and applied them to literally everything I do now. Like, go big, go hard, because what's the alternative? Good question. Yeah, mate.
That 300 kilometre day, that was from Christchurch
To Twizel. Yeah.
to Twice.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask.
Yeah, a little bit further than Twizel. Like, parked the tent just after 300 underneath a pine because it was all I could find. Locked my bike to it and, yeah, slept really well.
I don't know.
Yeah, you.
If people want to get behind what you're doing with the biking charity here now in Queenstown, how do we find you? What's the best way to support you?
If you've got a good name for that, come have a chat with me. We're figuring out a name. The first project off the bat is reforestation of Coronet Forest. It's the forest on the right-hand side, the old pine clearing, working alongside Te Tapoitani. So we're doing some important work in the pipeline, and you'll hear more. We're yet to launch.
And people want to keep track of where's the best way to find out?
Ooh, my socials being definitely, I don't like the plug. I don't know how else to direct you though. No, you're not going to get it. Instagram. Oh. No, I can't live with myself. Any other questions? Oh, thanks for having me, guys. It's been a bloody pleasure.